Hi everybody, sanibonani, welcome to my channel. Kamala Nguntando Mdleje, and on this channel siyasifunde iy'ncwadi zethu zesiZulu bese sizela soyixoxa le itori esuke siyifundile. Sixoxela laba phela abanqena ukufunda nalabo abangenaso nje isikhathi sokuthi bayifunde le ncwadi. Siyaphinda futhi sibuka ama-reality shows ethu ala eMzansi, sizokwenza ama-reviews lana for laba abangenayo ithuba lokuthi bawabuke lama shows nalaba sobewabukele kodwa befuna nje ukuxoxa ngawo. Siyaphinda sidiscuss any other issues avelayo ngenkathi siwabuka lama shows ethu kwi-TV. Uma ngabe uyaqala ukusijoyina namhlanje i-content yethu kule channel uyithanda, ungakhohlwa ukupress subscribe la ngezansi bese uphinda upress ibheli leseduze kuka-subscribe phela ukuze uthole umyalezo uma ngabe umsebenzi wethu omusha sesiwufakile. Namhlanje na-ke senza i-review ye-episode yethu or i-recap ye-episode yethu yokuqala ye-The Ranakas season 5. The Ranakas started the same year that uThando nesithembu started, so that is very interesting. They are both on season 5, but as we know, the Ranakas have another level of drama. It's very different from uThando nesithembu. Here's the thing about Ilokuzana before siqale with the Ranakas. One of the things that I think are very difficult to deal with when it comes to each show, the Ranakas, is that cast members are like with the Ranakas. A lot of them, or should I say some of them, are in the entertainment industry or in the entertainment space. They understand entertainment. They understand the work that goes in front of the camera. They understand the work that goes behind the cameras. So sometimes it makes it difficult for a viewer to know what is real and what is not real when you're watching the Ranakas, because they could easily play us because of the experience that they have working with production and production teams. So for me, I feel like it's even harder to see ama-scenes are scripted like with the Ranakas, and also yenza ukuthi ube suspicious ukuthi everything is scripted because they know that if they act a certain way, this is going to be an impact on their show, and if they do this is what is going to happen to a show. If they don't do this is what is going to happen on the show. So I feel like it's more difficult with the show because of the experience that abantu who are cast members kule show have. Also, we have one of the best actresses, zasemzansi, Ranaka. So even with her, sometimes it's hard for me to decide, is she acting here? Is she being real? It is a reality show, but as we know, reality shows have some element of scripting. So this is what I want to say as I review this show. As we move forward with it, we have to think about those things. Bazo exaggerate because bafuna ukuba to have a certain impact when it comes to the show. Season 5 ke wale show mayiqala episode, they always give us ilokhuzana ama-snippets ukuthi konje last season kwenzekeni. One of the things I made notes, guys, so if I look down, I'm looking at my notes so I don't miss anything for those people who did not even see the episode. So last season they show us a little bit about the relationship kaMpumi not Dineo. We know what they always have ilokhuzana a conflict, those two siblings, and then pregnancies. Ulokhuzana uManaka was pregnant and her daughter was also pregnant, so they gave us that. And also that scene that was that went viral where Umawabo became like the mother-in-law of the year. When they did that party and they had designed a blazer for the family and they were presenting that to their mother, but they put the names of the siblings there and did not put Ikamalga Michelle Lapayana, and the mother was not happy. Their mother was not happy with that. So they did give us ilokhuzana snippets la logo nje ukuthi kwenzekeni at that time. So this season mayiqala uthando I believe ingane kaMpumi noKatlego uKatlego ingane kaManaka. I think they are the two oldest grandchildren. They have organized for her family sit down, which will be a game night / therapy session. I mean, obviously, guys, we already know. We watch my reality shows. We know that there was just something that they came up with. I'm a producer as a show. So we have to come up with something different this season. How about we do this? Obviously, they have to find cast members that will be the organizers of the game night. So they are saying uthando nokahle ukuthi the purpose of this game night is that they are able to sit down and talk about issues that are difficult to talk about, issues that they wouldn't normally talk about as as a family, that questions that they have but they haven't asked one another, and talk about it in a peaceful way, dramaless. I know when they said hopefully there won't be drama, I was like, there's no way that the Ranaka family can meet up and do something like this without drama. Obviously there's going to be drama. And Udineo mentioned something about if if by the end of the day they still get along, and I don't know if she once offered 100,000 rands. I think when they did that first season and they were doing therapy, she had offered on Twitter someone will get 100,000 if they still get along by the end of the day. I mean, the mere fact that she would say something like that indicates to me that she's going to make sure that there is drama. You know what I mean? I just feel like we already knew what there was going to be drama, and it was going to come from her, Ulokuzana, Udineo. Remember what I was like, it's funny because she offers 100,000. I don't know if there was just a joke or she had previously offered that 100,000. And I was like, because recently we are dealing with Udineo allegedly not paying a makeup artist, which she was supposed to pay like 3,000. So for her to be talking about 100,000, I thought it was just funny to hear that. So yeah, so they start. Everyone is there. All of the siblings, Umanaka, Umpumi, the boys. Now Dineo, everyone is there, and then the grandchildren are there. I think that the younger grandchildren were not there. Only the older ones were there. Even the mom and dad and grandmother were there, which is great. I think it's so great that they still have their grandmother. They actually have, in that room, they had 4 generations of women in the same house. That is so amazing. That family is so blessed. Babe, with their, for them to still have, their grandmother as old as their mother is, but they still have their grandmother there. So she was part of this session. So then they start asking the question. The way that it was designed, they said it was a Ranaga board game. The way that the game was designed was that they had written questions and sent those questions prior to the event to Uthando noKatleho, so that they can put them together. Whatever question that you wanted to ask, whoever was the member of the family. So you send the question anonymously, so we wouldn't know who actually wrote the question, number one, and then but the question will be directed to the specific person. So if you want to ask the mom something, the question will be directed to the mom. A lot of those questions, it was clear that it's influenced by production, because they wanted to push it to discuss issues that might possibly cause drama to the family. So a lot of the questions that we had were not just questions that had simple answers. It could be that there are questions that were asked but they were cut off the show because it didn't make as much difference to the episode. But yeah, I think the questions that they decided to keep were the questions that they felt would make a good episode. And it makes sense. I mean, it is a show. So one of the questions that they asked, before the game began, the girls introduced what the purpose of the game night was, and they're hoping that it goes well. There's something that Ulona said, KG said that we might not have it all together, but together we have it all. I actually have that on my wall. It was just to encourage family to work together more. So They asked the first question, which the father asked. So the father is the one that picked up the question, and you are supposed to pick up a question and ask the person on your left, and the person on his left was Utineo. So he asked the question, which song best describes a family member on your left, which was Ulokuzana Utando. Tando is a daughter to Umpume Usiskati now. And then she said the song is Bruise Easily. I can't sing, guys. Just research that song. I thought it was such a nice song. I don't know a lot about Ulokuzana Utando to know the background on why they would say that about her, but that's how they feel. That's a song that best describes her. And then another question that they showed us was sister-in-law picked up a question which was directed to her, and the question was, who is the person that you gossip most about with the person on your left? And the person on the left was the grandmother, their grandmother. Here's the thing, ne? You know, that game really felt like, number one, it was designed by production because of the type of questions that they were asking, but it also felt like even the sitting arrangements, it was, you have to sit in this way, because then we need this question. When Ulokuzano Michelle is being asked this particular question, it should be about her and Ukoko, because they probably know that Michelle spends a lot of time with Ukoko, and what do they gossip about when they are together. So I feel like not only did they strategize when it comes to the questions that they were asking on the show, but I felt like they also strategized on how they were sitting. There was something into who was sitting next to who. So obviously, who was sitting next to Michelle was Ugogo, and there was the question was, who do you gossip about money in Taonyo with Ugogo? And she was like, oh, we gossip about Umawako, relating to her husband, and everybody laughed. I thought it was funny too, and the mother didn't take it personally. She was laughing the hardest, and the grandmother just died laughing too, because I think also they do, because honestly, they get along with Michelle. She loves Michelle. We all know she loves her daughter-in-law. But your relationship with the mother-in-law always has something, even if it's just light-hearted shade, but there's always going to be something. So I think it made sense, really, when she's with the grandmother, the person that they're going to talk about the most is probably the mother-in-law. So then the question went to Uranaka, and Uranaka is the last born in the family, as far as I understand. And then they said that, how do you feel about the way that you presented yourself as someone who drinks a lot? I know from first season, he was presented as somebody that drank a lot, was very irresponsible, didn't like to be in school, had no plans of finding a job. That's how they presented him on the show. But when he says, Mina, I felt like it was the way that they had structured the Lokuzani show. He says, yeah, nah, that was the way that it was intentional. I don't know if I believe it. He says it was intentional on his part to present himself that way. And then he says that, but he likes the fact that when people get to know him, they will get to know they always get to know he's not like he is presented on TV. So they always get a good surprise that he's actually a good person. He's not just a drunkard. So it doesn't bother him that much. He allowed them, or he presented himself as a drunkard on the first season. I think I like the fact that didn't negatively impact him as much, because I think like 5 seasons ago he was younger than he is today. So if he's saying that he doesn't have regrets, I think I'm tempted to believe him that he doesn't have Ilukuzane regrets about that. But I also am glad that hasn't had a negative impact in his life. If he says he doesn't have regrets, I think I am assuming that means that it hasn't affected him negatively. So I'm glad that is that way, if that is true, if he was telling the truth. So the next question was to Utando, which is Ngane Gampomi. And then Utando, they were asking him, Uguti, I think last season there was a time when she was having a conversation with Umawake, and she said that she would like for Umawake to, it's time to let me fly. I don't think that any of us misinterpreted that when a child is grown up, and they're saying that it's time to fly. It just means that you need to give them. They're asking for a little bit of freedom. Don't treat me as a child. And I think her explanation was just that. Ma'am, I didn't mean Gucci anything bad about it. I just it meant Gucci. I appreciate the fact that you've taught me enough to be able to stand on my own. So let me do certain things on my own. Allow me to take a car, for an example, drive myself around, and and run some errands. It's not a big deal. I'm grown up now. So I think then in the interview they asked Umpumi about her parenting skills, and she says she never really expects people to understand the way that she parents. I don't know how it got to that, honestly, because I didn't feel like her parenting skill was questioned. But remember, we are missing certain things here. Number one, we're not getting every single thing that they're saying in that sit down. And number two, the questions that the crew is asking her when she's sitting on the chair doing the interview, we're not getting that question. So we almost have to assume that what they were asking her based on the answer that she's giving. So she says, she doesn't expect people to understand her parenting, and she says she ufanisa her parenting to an eagle's view kind of parenting, and she even gives an example like if you had to go and touch an eagle's nest, the eagle will attack you. You will think the eagle is not there when you see the nest, but it's flying up there and watching. So if you touch it, you will see. She said that's her parenting style, but she does not expect people to understand it. I think her daughter has turned out really great, and she looks very respectful. She looks humble. I don't think that there's anything that I see in her that would make me think that maybe her parenting skills were not good and nothing. But I think she has turned out good. So that was the question. So she just explained that part to Lokuzana Utando, and then Michelle asked this question to Uranaga. The question was directed to Manaka. Okay. And she says, what do you think is the problem between Udineo and Umpumi? Remember, Umpumi and Udineo are the two that have the most conflicts out of the siblings. And the basic thing that she says is that it was the arrival of Kuzana Udineo. When Dineo was born, there was just an issue for Umpumi, and she's never really dealt with it. And I think I understand that, being the fourth at home, and there was two other people that came. I think when your younger sibling comes, you feel like you're losing space, and you are not loved as much, and you don't get as much attention, and it becomes harder for you to love your younger sibling moving forward, because it's like they take a lot of your comforts away when they come, so you almost have that resentment towards them. I think that's what Ulokuza Nomanaga was trying to explain. And then the next question was directed to the father. I think one of the grandchildren asked this question, but the question was for the father. And the question was, do you share the same sentiments about Michelle being part of the family? So it was a question about that thing that took place at the party when they had all the names on the blazer, but they didn't have Michelle's name. So they were asking their father, did you share the same sentiments as the mother? Because the mother was like, I'm not accepting this gift unless Michelle's name is on there too. And the father was like, if you think about it, that day I did not say anything. The reason I did not say anything, because I felt like it was the right thing to do for your mother to address it like that. But I didn't feel like I needed to come in. Mina, I felt like the issue was being addressed by the correct person, it being your mom. So yes, I did share the same sentiments. And then in the interview, I think they asked the mother, did you feel supported in that moment? because she says, no, I did not feel supported in that moment. What I saw was my husband being irritated. His face showed irritation. Honestly, if you look back at that moment, I think it would have been great to have the voice of their father in that moment to say, guys, listen, if your mother says she wants the name, Michelle's name on this blazer, put Michelle's name on this blazer. He did not say anything. So I do understand. I understand his point when he says, no, he felt like, it was being dealt with by the same person, by the correct person. But I do understand the mother's point in saying, but you did not say anything. When I looked at you, you looked like you were irritated. So to me, I don't feel like you supported me in that moment. I do, however, feel like the mother knows that her husband better than we do. So even though when I looked at his face, I didn't feel like he was irritated. But if the wife says he looked like he was irritated, he might have been irritated because she knows him better than we do. And maybe after the backlash, maybe in the moment really didn't agree with his wife, but after all of the support that the wife got from the communities and the children getting the backlash because they didn't put the name, maybe that's when he started supporting the idea. I don't know, guys. I don't know his thoughts, but according to him, he was supportive of what the wife wanted the kids to do. And then Umanaka, they asked her. Now this is the question that was asked Umanaka again. The question says, how did you feel about Katleho's, whom they call KG's pregnancy? Katlego ingane yakho uRanaka ngathi bebekhulelwe at the same time. She just said she was disappointed. I think that's every parent's feeling, really, because especially mawusuke usanama hopes ukuthi ingane yakho, there's things that they're going to do, you're not expecting them to have kids yet, so when they fall pregnant, there's always going to be a feeling of disappointment. So she says that now she was disappointed, and she apologizes to her daughter. She saw she has to say that, but she was disappointed. But she says because I think she gave birth in a C-section, and now she had given birth in a C-section, they had something that they could talk about, that they could relate to each other about. So at the end, it worked out. In the interview, she does say, listen, I wasn't ready to be a grandmother. I wasn't ready for my child to have a child. But sometimes when things happen, you just have to get over it and be moving on with your life. And I think that's what I had to do as well. So it's not anything strange. I think a lot of parents, that's what happens. At first, they're shocked, they're not happy, but what are you going to do? You just have to work on that relationship with your child and be able to move on. And then Uthando asks the question, did therapy in season 2? In season 2, they did therapy as a family. Did the therapy in season 2 help? I think this question was directed to Dineo, and not Dineo answers to say, you know what, until us as siblings are willing to go into an environment where we will talk honestly to each other without fear yokuthi omunye uzoreacta kanjani, without the backlash, be totally honest. I think that until we're able to do that, ayikho therapy session ezolukuzana ezosebenza kithi. We need to be able to sit and be brutally honest with each other. I understood what he was saying. Sometimes as siblings, we just feel like, rather than, because when you discuss issues that will make you go deep into your feelings, you don't know if it's gonna end with all of you resolving the issue, and you feel like it might actually negatively affect your relationship instead of helping your relationship. So at times you just feel like, I would rather just not deal with issues and stay surface. And a lot of us do that because we don't want to destroy that relationship. But I mean, I think that if people are willing to go deep but have an agreement that nobody's going to walk out until we resolve it, at the end of the day, it's beneficial to do that kind of therapy. So then Ukatleho asks a question. I guess it was directed to both Ulokuzana, Dineo and Managa. She says, Why is their legal surname Novukuza? Novukuza. You know, guys, I have to go watch Clips of season 1 because honestly, I remember when the father explained indaba yesibongo, but angisakhumbuli ukuthi wathini ukuthi what is it or how did ulokhuzana uRanaka come about, because there is a story about his stepfather being very abusive to him. So I don't know which surname is the stepfather. Is it Novukuza? Is it Ranaka? It's a very emotional story for him. The father gets very emotional when he talks about it because apparently his stepfather was very abusive to him and his mother. And I think he's written a book, if I'm not mistaken. The father has has a book that he has written. Sorry, guys. He has a book that he has written about it. But I'm gonna go and watch clips from first season because I just wanna learn more about what happened with indaba yesenem. But apparently legally ulokhuzana uManaga beno dino their surname is Novukuza. This question they did not answer because the question was, why is your surname Novukuza? You know, they did not answer that. Instead, Udino went into, you know what, my parents should have fixed this. I shouldn't be, as old as I am, this shouldn't be something that I am dealing with at my age. My father should have done it. My mother should have done it. I felt like they're not answering the question. And Managa was in support of that. They also feel like it should have been fixed. Managa says she only found out when she was in standard 7 that her surname was actually Novukuza. She had always known herself to be a Managa Ranaka. So I can imagine very that was a shock. But I wish they had answered the question because then we would understand why kunala surnames out too and which one are they supposed to fix, because ilokuzana isikhalo sikaDineo is that Mababo, they didn't fix this for them, but they fixed it for the boys. So she doesn't understand why they fixed it for the boys, but not for them. Ubababo just says he wishes Nganzabo would just accept Ranaka because that's a surname that he feels he has built his identity on, because earlier on his stepfather took his identity away, and also the system, which is apartheid system, took his identity away. He wishes that they would just accept ukuthi abaga Ranaka. He gets very emotional, Ubaba Kona, even cries about it. I don't know, guys, it's just that when you're not in that situation, sometimes it's difficult to judge. I think, personally, obviously you always have issues with your parent, and sometimes you feel like there's issues that you wish you could discuss with your parents sometimes on why did you do this like that, why didn't you do this like that. But sometimes at their old age, Baba Ranaka no Mam Ranaka, they're not that old. But for an example, me with my mom, sometimes I just feel like there's certain issues that I'm okay not having to ask her about and dealing with. She's at her old age, she should be comfortable and happy. I just don't feel like I will figure out how I get through life. I really do not have to have those confrontations with my mother at her age. I just don't. So sometimes you just have to accept that, you know what, our parents did the best that they could with certain things and move on with our lives. But like I say, I'm not in the situation got Dineo no Manaka, so I don't know. So they want their father to fix something when it comes to the issue of their surname. So then it looks like the games have gone well. The girls are happy. KG, they are very happy. That's gone well. They decide they're going to take a break. And the plan was that when they come back, they're going to answer questions from the fans. Like, fans had sent them questions. I don't know if they had sent them on Twitter or on Instagram, but they sent them questions. And so they take a break. During the break, okay, this is what I think. I think the producer said, okay, guys, this was a really great episode. This got to be a great episode, but we need a bit of drama, And they spoke to the one who is an actress. They chose the actress. Can you just act a little bit? Can we get some acting here just at the end so we can close the first episode with a bang. And he was like, no, I've got you. Don't worry. This is what I think happened. But okay, I might not be right. It's like it's during break, and then we catch the conversation mid sentence when Managa is just saying, she had mentioned something about kids being allowed, I think, to still be in contact with their dad, to recognize their fathers, even though some of their fathers are not in the picture. And Udineo is against that. And Udineo can get very passionate about what she believes in. But while Umanaga is trying to explain to Udineo, listen here, I have kids that have different fathers. You have kids that have different fathers. We cannot punish them, our kids, for that. We might not think their fathers are perfect, but we can't punish our kids for that. She's trying to get to the point of what she's trying to say when she says this is an issue that we need to deal with as a family. And Gaudineo comes in and says she will not recognize anybody that has not been a father to their kids. Listen, I do understand both their points, even though we didn't get to hear all of Managa's points because Dineo kept on disturbing. I really wanted to hear what point Managa is trying to make, and Dineo just disturbed and interfered and whatever. I do understand, like for an example, if your kids, they have a father who's not present in their lives, when they grow up, really they have to decide if they still want their father in their life. You might be upset about it because you're the only one that has contributed to raising them. But if they want to be in contact with their father, they should be able to be in contact with their father. And here is Dineo saying, listen, there is no way. If somebody has not taken steps to be an active father in a child's life, why the hell should I recognize them? I get both their points, but they were not letting each other talk. That's what caused the drama. And I don't know, guys. It depends. My families are different. For me, it was uncomfortable with Dineo telling their mother, to shut up because she doesn't have kids from different fathers. I felt like she should have let her mother speak because her mother wanted to say something, and then maybe later say, mother, I do understand that you will not understand what I'm trying to say because you do not have children from, rather than saying shush. Even Managa said the same thing, also you need to shush because this is our issue as kids. You're not living our experience, so you don't know. So you must they were basically just telling their mother to shut up. I didn't like that. I didn't like that. But then again, Umawaba didn't look like she took offense to it, so I felt like maybe that's how this family communicates. The grandmother was very disappointed. She doesn't understand what the hell they're fighting about now after such nice games. The two are they still teenagers? The grandkids who organized the whole thing of it, they were outside talking and saying this tradition thing doesn't make sense to them because they're trying to hear the adults out, but they can't hear the adults out because the adults are not talking, the adults are shouting, so they're disappointed that it all went to and the father is also disappointed. Dineo ends up walking out of the room. I will not stand this because it was getting all, a bunch, how Dineo gets passionate or whatever. And she walks out and then she comes back. She called a friend to say, explain the situation, and a friend advised Ugutaboy. She comes back, she apologizes to them, and then they seem to have resolved. But it's not really resolved. It's not really resolved. I feel like as viewers, number one, we don't know what the issue is because Manaka didn't finish what she was saying. Number two, she's apologized, but we don't even understand what she's apologizing for. And they're saying that they're so happy that they have a family that can have conflicts and then come and sit down and apologize and resolve issues. But what issue did they resolve? Pela, this is a show, we didn't say it. So that was Ilokuzani episode yethu yanamhlanje. Yanamhlanje. Listen, guys, as I said, I know that it could be real, that conflict between Dineo and Managa, but it didn't, to me, it just felt like ube-act ulokhuzana umanaka to me when she was shouting and she was crying and she was what, but it really could be real. Did you guys feel that that part was real? Because it didn't feel real to me. It felt like we were watching some scripting. Just that part was more scripting. But thank you so much for watching this episode. Don't forget to like the video and then share it with your friends, with your family, and even with strangers in Tanda.